Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for the 2 episode premiere of Daredevil Born Again. This is the new series slash continuation of the Daredevil Netflix series, bringing back a lot of the stuff. We don't know what is all canon, but for the most part, it looks like the majority of the series is just based on the events of the first 2 episodes. Both episodes are about an hour, 50 minutes to an hour long. Once you remove credits and all that, man, they are both pretty intense. I would say the first episode there are two really big scenes. The opening scene is or the opening sequence really. It just really gives you everything and sets up. I feel like what the thesis is going to be for this series. They're not going to hold anything back when it comes to the violence, the stakes, the drama. Like they're just really going all for it. But this is definitely a way to kind of refresh the mythos of this Daredevil character that's been around for so long. But as much as this show is about Matt Murdock, the Daredevil, this is also a show about Wilson Fisk. And I think that it is a very, very smart endeavor to give us two stories of two compelling characters, two characters that we've been following for a long time, especially for those that are big fans of the Netflix series, those that watch She-Hulk, those that watch Echo, Hawkeye. Like, there's a lot there, right? And I am very excited to see where we're gonna go from here. These first 2 episodes were very intense, and they set up some really nice groundwork, I think, for the future of the series. This is definitely it's a different approach to what Netflix was doing, but I like what's going on. I feel like the pace is a little bit slower when it comes to the progression of everything that they're really taking the time to explore all the avenues in this Daredevil. He's currently out of Hell's Kitchen after some events have happened. We'll talk about that in a minute. But overall, very enthused about this. I think it's a great 2 episode premiere because it really sets up the idea that maybe Matt Murdock does not want to be the Daredevil anymore, but he's kind of called back upon the duty. He still has that. He still has that responsibility on his plate, and it's something that's going to be on something that's going to be on his shoulders for a minute. And like I mentioned, we are still going through Wilson Fisk's arc, who seems to be a changed man on the surface, but then once you dig deeper in those layers, we know that there's only one Wilson Fisk, there's only one Kingpin, and that's kind of who we are meeting in this series. Very exciting stuff, great performances, I think, especially Vincent D'Onofrio, just bringing such gravitas to the character once again. It's really, really cool. And then Charlie Cox reprising his role as Daredevil, as he had never taken off the suit, just sliding right back in. Even though it's been quite a long time. I know he's played the character a little bit in a few projects there, but it's been a long time since he's really fully been and lived in with the devil. Very exciting stuff. Some things that maybe people will not enjoy. I think there's some changes that probably had to be made for the series, but it does feel like a nice way to ease the audience into this new setting, this new surrounding. So let's get into some of the actual spoilery details. So if you haven't seen the show, that was kind of my spoiler-free review in the last few minutes. We're gonna go over all the events of these first 2 episodes, or at least the things that I feel are important, and we'll talk more about all that. So we begin with the gang leaving the office, heading to Josie's bar. Josie's is the bar where lawyers and cops and just kind of people gather around. And there is an incident there. We knew that something was going to happen in this first episode. Um, After receiving a call from an informant or somebody that Foggy's working with, he is shot by Bullseye. We knew that we knew that Bullseye was coming. Bullseye is reprised from the same actor from the original show, which is very interesting to see. We have this opening kind of like one track shot for the fight. I feel like this is their just the nod of the hat to maybe the hallway scene. I don't think it's as intricate, but it does feel like one shot. I mean, there's a few points where I feel like they could have taken breaks, But all this is going on while we hear Foggy's heartbeat, right? So the show puts us immediately in Matt's head with Foggy's heartbeat is slowing down because he has been shot. He's losing blood. He's laying down on the street. Karen is trying to take care of him. But in the meanwhile, Bullseye is just going into the bar, killing people, and Matt, as Daredevil, has to stop him. Uh, Very vicious fight. Ends up in a very just uh, really horrible place. Matt ends up throwing Bullseye off the building after he hears Foggy's heart stop beating, and that is the incident that leads Matt Murdock to not want to continue to be Daredevil. Um, we catch up a year later where there's a lot happening. Vanessa's running a meeting and Fisk shows up. Fisk will be running for mayor while he's been recovering from all the events of everything that happened to him. Because if you remember, he was shot in the face. Then the events of the Echo series happened. Uh, he has been recovering. Vanessa's been running the empire, running very efficiently too. And if you remember from the Netflix series, Fisk never wanted her involved in all that business. So we also catch up on the trial for Bullseye. We realize that as Matt's giving his testimony, Karen comes back. We learn that she's moved to San Francisco. Now, San Francisco is very important for the just. It's a very important location for the comics. The Matt Fraction run actually takes Daredevil out of New York to San Francisco. Uh, and after this announcement, after kind of Matt has kind of lost everything, but he's remade a new life. We'll talk about that in a minute. Um, he meets with Fisk after he's made this announcement, and this is the other scene that I really thought was very good, really enjoyed. Just as a comic book fan, as a fan of this show, and just as a fan of both of these performers, Fisk and Matt meeting in the diner, and pretty much warning each other that they're gonna talk. Like they're keeping an eye on each other. Don't like Matt's not being Daredevil anymore, but Fisk knows who he is. And then Fisk is running for mayor, and Matt's going to keep an eye on him as well. We do see that Fisk has won the election, and after all the celebratory congratulations, whatever the case, he talks to Vanessa on top of a roof, where he brings up that he knows about Adam. Now, I feel like Adam maybe Vanessa cheated on him while he was recovering with somebody because Vanessa asked him not to kill this individual. We don't know. We do know that Matt does have a new girlfriend. His new partner at his new firm kind of set him up on a blind date without really advising any of them that this was a date. We do get somebody painting in the background, and we know that Muse is going to be part of this series. Somebody doing graffiti in the city after Fisk won the election. So I think they're planting those seeds of Muse being already active in the city. We hear that there's mentions of people disappearing and stuff like that. And then the episode ends as the city celebrates and also kind of fights on that Fisk has won the election. They're very split. It wasn't a very decisive victory, but it's a runoff election for the mayor of New York. So like it can still go either way. But as Matt walks back and he kind of looks up, he's covered in this red light, whereas Fisk is in the top of this building, looking down on the people, covered in this like blue white light. So like while now Fisk operates within the light, Matt as Daredevil has gone into the darkness. So I don't know. I really like that shot. I really love the. It's a really cool way to close out your first episode. Um, we move on to the next episode. Uh, this is called Optics. New Year. We get a New Year's speech from Fisk, in which he gives us a little bit of a call out to two of our favorite vigilantes in New York, the Punisher and Spider Man. He doesn't mention them by name, but he's like, we don't need a guy running around shooting people with a skull, and we don't need a guy swinging from the buildings or whatever. So we definitely know who he meant. I feel like he should also called out Hawkeye maybe, but he didn't. In the meanwhile, we see a man. There's a subway incident. This guy's trying to help somebody who's kind of getting jumped in the subway. It turns out that those were cops that they were harassing somebody. One of them accidentally gets killed and by the subway. And I knew, I put in my notes, oh, this is going to be a client of Matt's, and that's what ends up happening. We'll talk about that in a second. We also get a lot of intercuts in both episodes of the BB report, which is done by Ben Urich's niece. Her name is Bibi, and it's kind of like this. Feels like this kind of like YouTube channel project thing, or like it's kind of like news, but it's new media, right? And of course, we know Ben Urich's. He was a reporter in the old Netflix series, but the character has passed at the end of the series, and I believe in the third season. I have to go back and check. Um, I think something really funny as Mayor Fisk is driving through the city, he has this idea in his head already from his chief of staff that it's all about the optics. So as he's kind of stuck in traffic, he realizes that there's a hole that the city, bureaucracy, the hole's not being filled in, it's causing traffic. So he kind of tells the crew to fill it in and disregard the permits or whatever. So he's doing these things to appeal to the people of the city. Also, one of his staff members is uh, Tony Soprano's kid, James Gandolfini. I forget the name of the actor, but it is James Gandolfini's son, which his character is very interesting. I feel like Fisk sees him as a bit of a to kind of a paternal role to him. Maybe he reminds him of a young, like a young version of himself. And I think that's very smart because we know that Fisk wasn't always the killer that he is right now, right? He's not the guy that's always in control that he is right now. So after meeting with Hector's wife, we find out that he is the White Tiger, the vigilante that had been brought up a few times in the first episode as well. Uh, Also, Fisk meets with the commissioner of the police, who is threatening to leave. And this would leave Fisk kind of like in a lurch, and if he doesn't have the support of the police, it's going to be really hard to do his job as the mayor. But he's up to his old tricks. We close out the episode with two different things. We'll start with Fisk first. So Matt's girlfriend is a I guess psychiatrist, psychologist, a counselor, uh, who ends up being the couple's counselor for Fisk and his wife. So we know they're going through some hardship there. So that's going to be very interesting, just the way that is connected. I I feel like Fisk knows that that's who she is, and maybe that's why he picked her to kind of be close to her without Matt knowing. So that's interesting in one spot. How much are they willing to open up to this person? In the meanwhile, we know that Matt finds the witness from the platform. This whole case of Hector being innocent relies on that, and we really don't see Daredevil after the initial sequence, right? He really has left. He really has stopped being Daredevil, but Matt is kind of pushed to the brink as he helps this witness escape from the police. The cops start beating him up, and he has to let the devil out. Man, those dudes. He broke one dude's arm. He smashed the other ones against the fridge a bunch of times. So Matt Murdock is not. He's not done. He's done taking beatings. So, yeah, and of course he's frustrated after that happens. He's frustrated because he had made a very specific choice to stop being Daredevil. So we don't know. We don't. I don't know what's gonna happen next. Unfortunately, we don't get like a next week on Daredevil or whatever. There's no after credit scene. There's nothing after the credits as far as I could see. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how this plays out. After this initial 2 episode premiere, we'll get one episode at a time every week. I believe there's 9 episodes in this season, so we'll keep talking about them. But I enjoy the show. It's really good to have Daredevil back on the TV. Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Daredevil Born Again, Episode 3, The Hollow of His Hand. This is the latest episode in the Daredevil Born Again series, and it was very, very good. I think that this episode really cements the shift in tone that the series is taking. I feel like the first two episodes they wanted to pivot away from some of the stuff that they were doing. We know that there was reshoots, and I really feel like this third one feels more like something that they didn't have to mess with a lot. This is kind of where the story's going. This really moves a lot of stuff forward, even though very little happens in the grand scheme of things. This is the episode that really focuses on the trial of Hector Ayala. We know him as the White Tiger. He's been revealed by a few people know him as the White Tiger, but he's on trial for the the what happened with that police officer getting hit by the train. So um, tonally, it was very good. I am a big fan of law procedural, so like this also fit right up my alley. And I just really like how restrained the show's being about showing Daredevil back in the suit. I think it really emphasizes and makes feel it really highlights how important that choice is for Matt to not be in the suit. So yeah, great. It's got a great tone, great atmosphere, really fantastic. Just the soundtrack or the musical score behind this. It feels like it's just very different variations of the Daredevil theme that we're used to hearing, and I just really love how they work all those little motifs into the episode. I think it makes you feel like this you're watching Daredevil, but also like there's layers on top of that. Great performances. I do want to highlight Camar de los Reyes, who portrays Hector Ayala. He unfortunately passed in December of 2023, but he delivers just a great performance uh, in this episode. So very much to be commended. So, all right, let's get into it. I'm gonna get into spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode, I'm gonna touch on some of the stronger beats that I thought happened in this one. So, we begin, like I mentioned, the trial of Hector Ayala. Matt's getting ready. The defense is getting ready, getting all the pieces in place. We spent a lot of time in the courtroom in this one, so I know the original plan for this was to be more of a court procedural, and I like if it was gonna be on this caliber, on this level, like maybe Matt defending a bunch of vigilantes or some taking on the system that way. I think it would have been really fun as well. We also catch up with Vanessa and the Kingpin having breakfast and talking about the lack of control. We saw earlier that a truck was hijacked and two people were killed. This is all because the Kingpin, as Vanessa and himself have stepped back from controlling the gang warfare and everything that's going on in the criminal underworld. People are getting like everyone's kind of going into try to get their own piece, and of course that just not gonna work. Um, Matt brings in his star witness, who we saw him protecting in the last episode, Nikki Torres, but he ends up waffling on the stand. He doesn't tell the truth, or he doesn't testify, and Matt feels like this is a big blow to his defense because that would have contradicted everything that the police were saying in the trial. So Matt has to play the last card in his deck, and it is that the reveal of that Hector Ayala is the White Tiger, which causes a big scene for multiple reasons, right? Obviously, revealing the identity of a vigilante is a big deal, but also Matt had fought to suppress that information in the court when the police found that he was the White Tiger as well. So because it would be prejudicial. But in this case, Matt uses that to his advantage. We see that the Fisk do go on another therapy session, and I still don't know if Wilson Fisk he has to know that the doctor or that Matt is dating his therapist. Like there's just no way he doesn't know. Um, but we get back to the trial. We get a really powerful scene between Matt and Hector, where he talks about why he is the White Tiger, and I think this might be the initial push that Matt needs to kind of get back to being Daredevil and taking on that responsibility, taking on the mantle. Um, and then people come in and testify about White Tiger helping them out, including reading police reports of the White Tiger saving police officers. Like I said, just right before the verdict comes back, there's a great scene that just feels it's in the courtroom. Matt's by himself, and it's just like it's weird to see Matt and have a Daredevil show where there's so much light. It's just a really interesting atmosphere that is created in this episode. We come back with the verdict that Ayala is found not guilty, and of course, this pisses off Wilson Fisk because he's running on this. His whole agenda is no more vigilantes, right? That's kind of one of the big things that got him elected as mayor. So to close out the episode, we see the White Tiger, who's getting ready to go on patrol, uh, while we hear Wilson Fisk talk to BB about why why this is an injustice, and he's taking the opposite stance of like, vigilantes should not be out on the street. So we do see that somebody comes up to White Tiger, shoots him, kills him, and it is revealed that it's somebody with wearing a Punisher logo. Now, I don't think this is actually the Punisher, but I think this is the incident that will cause Matt to go looking for Frank Castle. We know that some of the police have used the Punisher's ideology and even the imagery, and incorporated it into kind of like what they're doing. And then to close out the episode as the credits roll in, uh, during the earlier conversation, White Tiger had talked to Matt about in Puerto Rico there are these frogs, the coqui, who make a little noise, and that's kind of the sound of the island. And then we hear that sound once again at the end of the episode. Yeah, it was just really, really well put together. So I really enjoyed this one. I don't know if I think people that are looking for superhero stuff may not be as on board with it, but like I said, I'm a big fan of procedurals. Regardless, um, I think that everyone's just giving such a great performance. Charlie Cox specifically, like it is incredible to see him. As somebody who's not able to see, having to act and react in all those circumstances and all those situations where he has to behave like somebody who is unable to see. Right? Like it really works. I don't know what exactly kind of who they had helping him with all that kind of stuff. But he's just kind of right back into it. He did such a great job in the Netflix series with that aspect of the character, and I think he's really nailing it here again. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. Highly, highly recommend. If you're not on board yet, I think the show will take a little bit more of a turn. We'll definitely head back into the superhero world soon. But while we're taking this ride, I'm fully on board. So, hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we're going to be doing a review for Daredevil Born Again, Episode 4, Sick Semper System. This was kind of a mixed bag episode. I think that although I was very thoroughly entertained while I was watching the episode, there's still a little bit of a tonal dissonance. I think there's still a little bit of trying to figure out the tone and all the stuff that we can see that the show's been kind of stitched together from different stories. They added a few things that some of them are very very good things, but still the episode at the end of the day, it wasn't as strong. It was a little bit more disjointed than the last one. You can see that they wanted to keep some of the procedural stuff, but also they knew that they wanted to amp up all the other Daredevil stuff. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but it's still pretty good. I still really enjoyed it. Like I said, I had a great time. There's some like just stuff that is out of left field, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. Um, so let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the things that worked, things that didn't. Um, all right, so we begin with Matt checking up on White Tiger. We know that, and we're getting into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episodes up until now, you're gonna get spoiled. Matt goes to check on the White Tiger, gets his belongings, and then also just try to get a little bit more information about what happened. Angela, who is the White Tiger's niece, who in the comics eventually becomes a new iteration of the White Tiger, shows up, and she's very distraught. This young person is very, very good. First of all, at just kind of really delivering a very, very heartfelt, just like an angry, like she's angry, she's upset about what happened to her uncle, right? Because it is unfair. He had been found innocent, and now this happens. So yeah, I think she was great. She was a really good part of the episode, even though it was a very short, small scene. This young person and Charlie Cox really deliver. We also have our first sighting of Muse carrying a body. Now I don't know if Muse was an original part of the plan. I think he probably was because I know they were not. Muse feels like a good villain to kind of slow play throughout the season until Daredevil actually has to kind of step into it. We also catch up with Daniel and BB partying in this like club. And Daniel's kind of filling BB in on like what the plans are, right? Like what the next project is. Now later on, we find out that BB was kind of using Daniel for information. But one thing I really liked is that there's art all over the walls, and Muse's signature is all over the place as well. There's some really cool White Tiger art. So I think we know that Muse is like his presence has been felt, has known, right? Muse is probably the one that drew the Punisher symbol with the word triggered on it, and the dual Wilson Fisk of like two different, kind of looking Wilson Fisk. So yeah, Muse is definitely a presence in this neighborhood, and we get to see it all over the background, which is kind of cool. We get to see another counseling session for the Fisks, and they go into some really deep stuff. Like we get a little bit more of information of why they're upset with each other, what happened while Fisk was away. The name of Adam is brought up again, and we kind of get learn a little bit more, and we will learn a lot more about this character later on. In the meanwhile, we saw somebody getting arrested outside of the club with Daniel and BB, and this story is a follow through. We get to see that this individual is going to be Matt's new case. They do sometimes they do freebies for, I guess, just to help people out as public defenders. Um, it is really interesting because the whole thing revolves around this guy stole some fiddle faddle from like some sweets from the grocery store. So it's like a very small crime. And I really thought it was kind of interesting how small of a thing, like how little, like this case compared to the stuff that he just did with the White Tiger has very little um like gravity towards everything, right? There's not a lot riding on this case except for this one person that's part of it. uh yeah, this is kind of where some of that dissonance in tone comes into play, because the guy that Matt is assigned to, he makes a few comments about Matt being blind, and like he how come he's got to get the blind lawyer and stuff like that. So outside of the court, Matt does run into Powell, who's the cop that we saw multiple times. One of the cops that was in the with Victor Ayala in the subway, and he kind of goads him into telling him like, I didn't kill Victor, just so that he could use his powers, I guess, to like see if he really did it or not, like a lie detector. So it looks to me like he did, like he's telling the truth. So it was maybe somebody else. Definitely, we know it wasn't the Punisher, but we know it's definitely one of those cops that has that Punisher logo, like that they kind of idolize the Punisher. So uh, next we get to probably the weirdest scenes in the episode. And this is already like after we've dealt with the fiddle faddle of it all. Fisk, he's trying to do this project. Things aren't going according to plan because of Daniel's leak to the press, which we'll deal with in a minute. But he's just got to do stuff, like he's got to do mayoral stuff, right? So he's got to go visit a school and go check out this community center and stuff like that. And it's like, for some reason, the kids choir is singing like a song, just like "We Built This City," that song, and it's from the point of view of Fisk, is kind of like something he doesn't want to do. It's a little cringe, like he just feels out of place there. And this is a fun way to understand that Fisk doesn't know what he's in for as mayor, right? He can't just do whatever he wants. Like when he was the kingpin, there's commitments, there's rules, there's boundaries, and of course he's gonna keep pushing on those. But then right after that, the next scene, we learned that it's like Latvian Heritage Day or something like that. And the Latvian choir is also singing the same song, but in Latvian. And I was like, what is happening? And I thought it was a fun way to show how this like the mayor has to do all the stuff that they don't want to do, and especially because it's the same song. Like, how many times in a day does he have to go through the same niceties of like pretending to care about all this stuff that he's doing, right? All his appearances and all that. So of course Vincent D'Onofrio plays it very well. Just the fact that they chose to use the same song a couple times is really interesting. Fisk does find out about the leak, and Daniel comes forward saying that it was him who leaked it to BB. Um, and instead of firing him, he tells him, he kind of gives him an ultimatum. But it's interesting to see, like, what is Daniel to Fisk? Like, what is their relationship? How does Fisk see this guy? Like, does he remind him of himself? Does he remind him of like maybe a successor or somebody that he would want to take under his wing? So I'm sure we're going to explore that. Matt finds the bullet. He goes and looks for the bullet. He finds the bullet. He realizes that it's got a Punisher logo on it. So of course, we know that it is from one of these police officers that are going around with the Frank Castle tattoos or the Punisher tattoos. So Matt tracks down Frank Castle. So it looks like this whole time, and this is probably the best scene and the best sequence of the episode, Matt has known where the Punisher is and what he's been up to. And you know, they have this really in-depth conversation where they kind of call each other out on their bullshit. Matt knows how to, you know, Frank knows how to get Matt going. He knows. I wrote on my notes. Frank knows how to bring the devil out of Matt, and just any project where John Barenthal shows up, it just immediately becomes better. Like that's just, you know, it's just a matter of fact. So yeah, very intense scene between both of them. I'm sure we'll see the Punisher one more time at least before the end of the season. And then, of course, he's got his own spin-off special project that will be coming to Disney Plus later on. So I'm very excited for that. Matt finally goes home. He sees his girlfriend finally, and then he does what Matt, you know, he does what Matt does, and that is just to get down and freaky after this very stressful day. And then we end with a really cool parallel scene of how both Matt and Fisk blow off steam at the end of the day in their own special ways. Matt goes up to the roof and does a little bit of like training with his batons, and kind of reminds himself of like the Daredevil days. In the meanwhile, Fisk goes to like this compound, this dungeon, where he is served like this full gigantic plate of pasta, like this, like just a really big plate of like pasta and sausage and very unhealthy food, which is in contrast to what we see him eat for breakfast every morning, which is just like, you know, like a little egg with some like a scallion or something. Um, but then it is revealed that this Adam person that Vanessa had an affair with of some sort, that he's been keeping him there in that dungeon, and that is messed up. So yeah, Fisk hasn't changed. Matt also probably hasn't changed much. So like they're both still under the surface and they're bubbling up and they're gonna come. And I can't wait to see how they both come back into the fold. Next we close out with Muse. Like at the beginning of the episode, we saw him carrying some guy down the tracks. He finally gets to his lair, and we see that he's been bleeding people out, including this new guy. So yeah, Muse will definitely be. I think next episode is going to be the Muse episode, at least the first one where Matt becomes aware of the threat and maybe has to kind of spring into action. So we'll see. But yeah, really interesting. Like I said, tonally all over the place, story wise kind of all over the place, and just very weirdly stitched together. But overall, solid, entertaining. Almost hour television. So not as strong as the last episode, but definitely had a good time watching this one as well. So hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we're going to be talking about the two latest episodes of Daredevil. That's right, if you're watching this live on the 25th or the 26th, after that, Disney actually dropped two episodes of Daredevil Born Again, episode 5 and 6. So we're gonna get into both of them. Before I get into spoilers, I think both of these episodes, it makes sense that they would release them together. Episode 5 itself feels very much like a bottle episode. It is connected in some sort of way, but it really feels like maybe a leftover of the original show, where it's not really, it doesn't feel connected to the larger story. But then on episode 6 we come back to the main story that we have been following. So it was both of them very entertaining in their own way, very different. That you can really feel the difference between both of them, where one of them feels just a lot of stuff happening, and in the meanwhile, episode 5 just felt like a very cool, like, one-off Daredevil. So interesting. It's a really interesting way to approach this show. So let's get into it. We're gonna start with Daredevil Born Again episode 5 with interest. In this one, Matt goes to the bank. He's trying to raise funding, as we learned earlier on, for the firm. And who happens to be the assistant manager helping him out in this bank? None other than Yusuf Khan, who you may know as Kamala Khan's dad from Ms. Marvel. So if you haven't seen Ms. Marvel, this means nothing to you. But if you are like me and have watched every single minute of the MCU, you know that this is Kamala's dad. So yeah, very cool. I mean, she gets brought up a few times, although I don't think we're gonna meet her in the show. It wouldn't make sense. They mentioned that she's in LA, and all my mind immediately goes to, like, are they starting a West Coast Avengers thing or whatever? Anyways, I don't think any of that stuff will pay off in this episode. But this episode is actually about a bank robbery. So a gang. It is St. Patty's Day in New York, or I guess everywhere. It's St. Patty's Day when they decide to rob this bank. Uh, it's a just very straightforward robbery until it's not. We meet Devlin, who is kind of like the leader of the gang here that comes in, um, and he mentions that there's another boss. There's an ulterior motive because this bank doesn't really carry cash. It only has like these safety deposit boxes. So why are they going to that bank? What are they stealing? I think it all kind of leads back to Fisk in some sort of way, because that's probably where all crime in New York leads to. So it's really interesting, but it's a good episode. Matt had left the bank. He comes back because he hears this. He becomes a hostage, and then little by little begins to kind of take down these guys until they're able to save everyone. But there's some really interesting highlights. Matt has to open up a safe, like the vault, which is really cool, and he makes a joke that not only he's also a really good lawyer, which is something that we kind of heard him say in Spider-Man, right? When people ask him, "What kind of lawyer are you?" He's just like, "A good one." Um, like I mentioned, this is an inside job. We see the leader Devlin. Uh, he dresses up as a cop so that he can leave, and it made me think, like, is he one of the Punisher cops, or is he just like using that to get out of there? But Matt follows Devlin. He beats some senseless. Like, he puts one of the guys was wearing a red mask, which is, I love all the little hints of, like, the Daredevil in Matt just kind of coming back into the fold. And yeah, he beats him up, takes the diamond back, which is what they really wanted, and returns it to the bank eventually. It does leave off with, we do get to see Yusuf Khan again, uh, and he invites Matt over for dinner at some point. So, like I said, I don't know that that will get paid off in this season, but it's a really nice Easter egg um, for just MCU people that have watched everything. Like I said, this is the episode that feels like maybe it's a remnant of the old show. It doesn't really move a lot of things because the next episode, it touches on the whole the gangs not respecting Fisk and all that. So yeah, interesting though. But I mean, yeah, is Fisk the one that's truly in charge? It I really like the feel of it. That was a little bit of a heist. And now Daredevil Born Again episode 6, Excessive Force. We get back to everything that we've been working on. The fifth storyline with the city, and the Muse. Everything kind of gets revisited here, so I really, really enjoyed this one as well. This one feels more like this is now part of the show that maybe the last one is like the last, maybe the last episode is the last remnant of the original show, and then from here on, because they had shot a few already, shot a few episodes. We begin with Matt praying, and as he's praying, he's kind of reliving and thinking about all the violence, all the fights, Foggy, like all the stuff in his life that's going on. His girlfriend, she talked to him a little bit about wanting to do her next book being about vigilantes and masks, and even mentions like if Matt could help her set up an interview with the Punisher or Daredevil. We also see that Luca, the gangster from a few episodes ago, visits Fisk in the office. This was a bad idea for Luca. There's no way that Fisk is going to acquiesce to any of his demands. Um, we do see that, or I guess finally somebody figures out that the murals are made out of human blood, and then they relay this news to Fisk, and this is kind of what gets the ball rolling because obviously there is now a serial killer in New York that people didn't know about, but they will find out very very soon. Angela Ayala visits Matt. She mentions that the White Tiger was looking for the missing people, and these are the people that we know Muse is taking to take their blood. She's gonna do something very dumb. We also see a character from Hawkeye. I won't ruin who it is. It's probably not the biggest surprise, but um, we get a little bit of a callback to this character during one of the BB segments as well. So it's interesting that this is like, yeah, the little Easter eggs, the little stuff that they reward you with if you watch more of the MCU. Like it's still a lot of fun. So Fisk or Cherry visits Matt and also tells him about the serial killer Muse. But Cherry doesn't want Matt to go after him. Like, he's like, leave this to the cops. You don't need to go back to being Daredevil. Obviously, Matt's not going to do that. Matt is going back to being Daredevil. That's the whole point of the show. Fisk also makes a task force for vigilantes, but specifically to catch Muse, and he uses all the cops that are in this like the subculture of the Punisher, right? The all those cops that we've known with the tattoos and that they do kind of things on their own terms. They are kind of brought in to this task force. Fisk handpicked them specifically because he knows that they'll go those extra steps outside the law to take down vigilantes. In the meanwhile, we find out Angela looking for Muse on her own. This was a bad idea. She gets caught. Um, oh, I forgot earlier. Muse found two girls saw Muse painting, so he killed them and just kind of introduced himself to the world. And now New York knows that there's a serial killer out there by the name of Muse. Uh, to close out the show, once again, we have these parallels between Fisk and Daredevil, where Matt goes back, he puts on the suit again, and he starts hunting down Muse because he realizes that Angela is now in trouble. In the meanwhile, Fisk goes down to beat up on Adam. Like he gives him an axe too, so it's not like he was just. But I mean, this was an unfair fight, very one-sided. In the meanwhile, Daredevil finds Muse and also beats the holy heck out of him. They have a really cool fight too. Um, but I think towards the end of the show, what I heard was that the cops are also closing in. So maybe Daredevil's gonna have to get away because obviously uh, these cops don't care that Daredevil's the one they're beating up Muse. They're just gonna take out all the vigilantes, and even Angela could get caught in this crossfire. So very interesting way to leave things off. Episode 6. There's only 3 more for this season, which is crazy how far we've already gone. But I mean, dropping 2 in one night will do that. So, if you... Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Daredevil Born Again, Episode 7, Art for Art's Sake. This was a big one, right? We knew there was going to be fallout from the events of um, episodes 5 and 6. Really, we get a little bit of follow up in both stories, but this was great. I don't think it's my favorite episode of the season. I think there's a few other standouts for that, but this one really works. We get to see a lot of cool action. Of course, we get to see Matt really deal with some of the things that he's been dreading dealing with. And we get Dr. Helen Glenn, a bit of a bigger role, which we knew was coming. So I think the show itself is just doing such a great job giving us like all types of different episodes, right? It doesn't feel like just a big standalone movie, which has been a problem for me with some of the MCU shows, recently, where it really feels like, oh, this is not an episodic TV show. This is something that just kind of cut up into 6 different episodes or whatever. So let's get into it. So we get to see Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio, find out that Daredevil's back, and just the way that D'Onofrio does like the Kingpin, like his ticks and his tells, and like him just kind of like trying to keep composure when he's getting all these bad news. It's fantastic. I think we also figure out maybe there's a problem with dating a therapist. Is that they'll immediately know when something's up. So Helen does confront Matt a little bit on like, why is he beat up? What's going on with him? Why is he so aloof and different? And all these support systems that Matt has kind of built over this year, like his partner at the law firm, they're questioning some of his motives as well, Cherry as well. So yeah, putting on the mask as Daredevil definitely comes with a lot of consequences. Uh, Kingpin's intensity, like I mentioned, just whenever he's talking about Daredevil, he's talking to Buck, his assistant, and just like the way that it's almost as if I can feel him grinding his teeth or like tensing his knuckles up, like like just and like I said, Vincent D'Onofrio, very imposing physicality. Um, I feel like the way they shoot him as well, just a lot of low angles, so you really get that feel right up in your face. So we see the police checking out Muse's lair, and this will eventually get back to Fisk, right? Because he's put up that task force to catch Muse. We also see Vanessa meeting with Luca. This has been kind of a quiet plot that's been going on. That does Vanessa want to be part of the underworld? Like, does she want to be part of a criminal underworld, or is she okay with what's going on? Like that, I don't know. There's a lot that they have to deal with, which is going to be hard because after this episode, I don't know if they're going to have a therapist. We see Bastion, the patient we met earlier on with Dr. Glenn, um, meet with her, and as the police kind of we this episode is all about confirming to everyone that that Bastion is Muse. The police believe it's him as a suspect as they're giving the report back to Fisk. And yeah, it ends up that his because of what happened, because he knows that he's being cornered by Daredevil, he has to move on to, I guess, the next thing, which is using Heather to make some of his art. But Daredevil also figures it out after. It's really interesting that he goes to the layer where Muse was, and he starts touching all these sketches, and he figures out that it's Vanessa's face, or not Vanessa, Helen's face, Heather's face. Um, so it is weird to see Muse like acting out in the middle of the day, like like full costume and everything, right? I think Muse as a character with a white outfit with the red big splotches in his eyes and stuff, like it just really works at night visually. So it's interesting to see him in the daylight. We get part two of Daredevil versus Muse. We do learn that Muse was like he trained in Taekwondo when he was younger, and that's probably one of the reasons that he's actually can hold his own against Daredevil. But he was ready to kill Heather. Like he opened up her arm in a pretty visceral way. So after the fight, we see that the cops are coming because they know that Heather's probably in trouble, and they end up fighting. There's there's a canvas on the floor during this fight, and Matt and Muse are pretty much just painting it red with their own blood. But we also see that the police are coming, so Muse gets distracted. Heather ends up shooting him, and then we see the last work of art for Muse as he lays down on the canvas. There's some really cool, like, it almost sounded like cathedral music building up in the background, just building that tension as the cops are coming and things are kind of closing in, and it all crescendos to Heather shooting him in the chest. Um, of course, Daredevil helps get Heather back, get to the hospital, but he has to leave because the cops are coming. So Fisk, as he arrives on the scene, realizes that he has to give the task force the win. So they're going to take the credit for taking down Muse as opposed to crediting Daredevil. Now, there's a few people that know it was Daredevil because they saw he came in really cool. I didn't even talk about this. He came in through a window, very cool. Like I said, middle of the day. So we also see Daniel confronting and threatening BB to put a spin on the Muse story. And then lastly, we close out the episode with Vanessa texting Luca where Fisk was going to be. Now, I think the show wanted me to read this as like Vanessa is betraying Kingpin, but I really felt like this was a setup for Luca, and it ended up being that because Buck was there to shoot Luca, take him out, and then we end with a press conference where Fisk and the police task force that he set up with all these, Punisher, vigilante, killing cops, whatever, um, they're there to take the credit. So his moves are working. Like his moves are in the mayor's office. I think he had to struggle a little bit, but Fisk has definitely got something working now at the mayor's office. So, yeah, great episode. We have 2 episodes left of this season before we close out. There's going to be 9 total, so I'm very excited to see how this plays out. I think we have 2 more weeks. I don't think they're dropped both of them together, but we'll keep an eye out for that. So stay tuned and come back for more Daredevil Born Again. Hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we're going to be doing a review for the penultimate episode of Season 1 of Daredevil Born Again, Episode 8, Isle of Joy. Man, oh man. Before I get into spoilers, wow. This feels like what the whole season's been building to. We get so much going on, like all the things that people want to see. I know all the things that I want to see for sure. We get a lot of answers. We get a lot of interactions between all these characters. We get some confrontations that we finally want to see. And then towards the end, we get the most shocking thing. Like if you had asked me out of a list of 20 things what's going to happen as we get ready to close out the season, I would have never put it here. Like this was just incredible stuff. Really, really, just man, they know what they're doing. Look, I know it's been an up and down season for a lot of people. I know it's been definitely not the most smooth transition into this, but I feel like this are the episodes, 7, 8, and 9. These are the episodes that we really know that what the story should be now. Like that this is where probably the creative team hadn't really, this isn't part of any reshoot or any of that. It doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like we are in this to win it. So let's get into it. Let's talk about Daredevil Born Again. Once again, spoilers, big spoilers ahead if you haven't seen the episode. Make sure to go check it out. We open this episode with Bullseye. I think we all wanted to see Poindexter once again on our screen, and we finally get him. He's being moved to general population as opposed to, being in the protected custody in jail. And we find out why. We do find out that this is because of Mayor Fisk later on. But what is what is the reasoning behind it? We know that he's going to get eaten alive in Gen Pop just because he is a vigilante. He's killed a lot of people, and he's probably I don't think even the people in jail think very highly of him. So we also see Heather and Matt arguing about Daredevil. I think Heather, obviously, because of her previous encounters, is not very pro vigilante or even pro, masked individuals. She's definitely been through a lot after last episode with Muse. So Buck, Mayor Fisk's assistant, shows up with an invitation to their big party tonight, which will close out the episode. Fisk also, in the meanwhile, as Matt kind of veers a little bit away from Heather, and their relationship is a little bit in trouble. Fisk and Vanessa's relationship gets even closer. He takes her to the dungeon where he's keeping Adam, and I did not see this coming, but Vanessa kills Adam. She just straight up shoots him. Like, they have a little bit of conversation. It's not right away that she does it, but she ends up doing it. And this feels like it helps them move past all their issues. Everything's out in the open. Fisk is being honest, and I think that's what Vanessa really wanted, to make sure that she hadn't really lost Fisk, now that he's mayor. So, yeah, and also we find out that it was because of Vanessa that Luca was killed in the last episode. So, yeah, Vanessa and Fisk are stronger than ever. Um, Matt has a difficult client at the office after his thing. He's having a bad day overall, but he goes to Josie's bar afterwards. As they're having a drink with Josie and Cherry shows up, Matt figures out something and does go visit Poindexter because Poindexter's Bullseye, because he had requested Bullseye requested Matt visit him in prison to try to help him out. Like, he needs, I don't know that he has any lifelines left. So it's a really, really intense conversation between them. Uh, Matt drops an F bomb. This might be the second F bomb we get in like a Marvel MCU proper title. After Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's really interesting. But Matt smashes Bullseye's face against the table a couple of times. Obviously, he's restrained right by his hands, so that he won't be able to do anything. So before this, we get to see that the big party starting. But did I had a question, because as Bullseye's taken to the infirmary, he has one of his teeth knocked loose, and he uses that to escape because during treatment he's put on a chair, so his hands are free once again. He uses that loose tooth from getting smacked against the table. So I thought for a minute that maybe Matt did that on purpose, to set him loose, or did did Bullseye figure out that Matt would hurt him in some way, and that might lead him to maybe find a way to try to escape. Either way, Bullseye's on the loose. He escapes from prison. He takes out a bunch of guards and takes out one. Goes under his identity to escape. In the meanwhile, we see the party. Everybody's kind of just having a good time as the people come in to visit Fisk. Right, Fisk is visiting. Fisk is talking to all these people uh, to kind of like strong arm them into donating to his project. Um, the woman that we had met before, I believe her name was Artemis. She's also in the pit. She's changed her tune a little bit about Fisk, and I feel like it's because Fisk has been blackmailing her somehow. With, we see Swordsman there, and he asks her about her husband, and she says, "I don't know. I haven't seen him. Do you know where he is?" So to me, that tells me that he's missing, and maybe Fisk is using that to kind of strong arm her. He also threatens pretty much Swordsman with revealing his identity as a vigilante and sending the task force out on him. As they leave the room, we see a reporter try to sneak a picture in the ball, and Fisk just sends the task force after him. So the task force is just blatantly out of control at this point. Like, they don't really care anymore. They know that Fisk will let them do whatever they want as long as he keeps getting the results that he wants. BB also is doing the work at the party. I wasn't sure about BB's character, like what the plan was going to be for her. But we finally see that she's been playing nice with the mayor because she's also doing more investigative work. She talks to the police commissioner and saying that I'm publishing articles to help Fisk, like the story about Muse, under my name, but she also writes under other pseudonyms with some of the other information that she's gathering. So she's kind of working both sides, but she's getting in deep with the devil, as you would, to get that and the information that she needs. She's also, pretty much cozying up to Daniel, who threatened her pretty much in the last episode. So yeah, great stuff. I think she's going to be a big part of the season, the next season. Now that we know exactly how she's been set up, just a great dance at the party. There's the first dance by the mayor and Vanessa. In the meanwhile, we see that Bullseye is coming in. Like he's at the party, he's ready to take somebody out. He goes up to the rafters. In the meanwhile, it's just like a really intense scene because there's a lot happening, right? We see Bullseye moving into spot. We see Matt confronting. He wants to confront Fisk, but this is when their first dance as mayor and for first lady of New York with Vanessa is to be taken time. And then Matt overhears Vanessa say that she wants to tell Fisk something, but Fisk knows that Daredevil can hear them, so he tells her, "Not right now." But that's when Matt figures out that it was her that killed Foggy. So Matt knew that somebody was sent out to kill Foggy. Somebody put Bullseye up to it, and it was Vanessa. And maybe that's why Bullseye's there. Maybe he was trying to kill either Fisk or Vanessa, um, and which they do this thing with Bullseye where, like, if you ever play those Arkham games where you have Batman's detective vision, where it turns blue and you can see everything, like it almost feels like it's slowed down. They do that a little bit here with Bullseye. He's got his own type of like vision, like everything turns blue and it looks a little bit different. And I feel like it's a fun way to let us know like how he can kind of see the world, and that's why he's so good at what he does, right? Ultimately, Bullseye is about to shoot. Looks like Fisk, and Matt steps in the way. So Matt takes a bullet for Fisk, uh, knowing everything like that's going on between them. A lesser man would have just let Fisk take the bullet, or maybe Matt thought the bullet was going to Heather. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I mean Bullseye has to know what Vanessa looks like, so I don't think that he would confuse Heather for Vanessa to kill her. So yeah, I don't really know, but Matt took a bullet, and as we end the episode, he's dying on the floor, bleeding out. So I mean, there's a season 2 of Daredevil, but man, oh man, I don't know what's gonna happen. How's Matt gonna get out of this? Will Heather find out that he's Daredevil, and how is she gonna take that because she doesn't like vigilantes? This was really cool, really intense episode. I love it. Really fun stuff. So if you watched this episode, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. Hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Daredevil Born Again Episode 9, Straight to Hell. This is the finale of the first season of Daredevil Born Again. Technically, I guess, the fourth season of a Daredevil show, now that all the stuff from Netflix is included. So, we're going to have a spoiler-free part of the video. You can click on the time codes to jump to spoilers, where I'll talk about everything that happened in the episode if you're watching the full video. So let's talk about it. This last episode was super intense. I'm talking about the action, the story, everything that's building up. Great stuff. Charlie Cox, stellar as Daredevil. I mean, I'll talk about some of the other characters when we get to the spoiler, but just, you know, the way that Charlie Cox has embraced and embodied and brought this character of Matt Murdock and Daredevil to life, to the screen, it is so much fun to see. As a big fan of Daredevil from the comics, a big fan of the original Netflix show, and just overall a fan of Charlie Cox, like, this is great. It's great to see. And the best part is that on the flip side of this coin, we have Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, Mayor Fisk, Wilson Fisk, however you want to address him, just embodying this larger than life character, this character that uh, originally makes you kind of want to root for them, but then you get to see, and as you uncover the layers and you look past the shiny facade, you see that it's a despicable character that will never be able to be reformed. And Kingpin, Fisk is originally a Spidey villain, but I just feel like his relationship, his you know uh, adversarial nature with Daredevil just brings out the best and the worst of both characters. And this season has really proven that. This last episode has really proven that. There's so much good stuff. We have some of the most brutal action scenes that I've seen in a while, especially for a Disney Plus show, which is pretty wild to say. Um, we have some great music choices as well. Like I don't normally notice the music, but like there's a few needle drops in here that I was like, I like, and maybe those songs take you out a little bit. To me, they felt like they work with what we were dealing with, the nature, the themes of the show. So it is great. We get to see some recurring characters. We get to see some things being set up for the next season. Now, remember, this show was originally supposed to be just a one season of 18 episodes. Now it's kind of been broken up into two seasons. So there's definitely a lot more coming. Um, this show has done such a good job with embracing the nature of what it is. It's just a small thing, really a bubble of New York in the MCU, and has taken that and just really ran with it. Right, it's utilizing the pacing to its fullest. It's crunching in a lot of things in one place. So there's a little question as to like, okay, why are other MCU characters not appearing or helping out? Everything's happening so fast. Everything's just uh, it comes out in a way where it's a surprise. And I love that the characters, especially like Kingpin, is always a few moves ahead, because that's really the main advantage he has over Matt is his resources and the power and the fact that he can operate in the light, whereas Matt and Daredevil is kind of forced to operate in the darkness in more ways than one. So yeah, this is great stuff. So highly recommend you check out this latest episode of Daredevil. I feel overall, as much as this season was a little bit disjointed and we saw some cracks between the seams, or whatever the saying is, uh, it almost feels like when you restore a statue or a piece of art, and although it's not the original intent, it's not the original way it was supposed to look, you still get something out of it, because there's still a lot of really great work that went into repairing and rebuilding, and that's also a theme of the show, right? Repair, rebuild, and resisting change. So yeah, it is some really great stuff, great performances all around. And then also, I really love the way that things get set up. There is a post-credit season. This is the first episode that, if the whole season, that has actually had a post-credit. I was surprised when we got to the end and the little thing comes up to skip credits. I knew there was something coming, so make sure to stay all the way till the end to watch. Or luckily, you can just skip the credits and get right to that part. So yeah, make sure to go check this out. If you're stopping here, or if you are not watching the full spoiler video, make sure to go and let me know what you thought about it. This in the comments. Make sure to go check out the full spoiler video, and let's get into spoilers. All right, so we have the fallout from the last episode. Matt gets shot trying to save Fisk from Bullseye's bullet at the big ball. Now Fisk is going to take this opportunity to just really let his plans go. Um, but we get a flashback 1 year ago. Vanessa, she's the one that released Bullseye with some, whatever law technicality, whatever, to put the hit out on Foggy. Matt found that out last episode. It is now confirmed to us, the viewer, that that's what happened. Meanwhile, we see Matt at the hospital, and we also see that Fisk and Vanessa are regrouping their efforts to move their plans forward. I love the way this show just kind of keeps cutting between both stories, right? Because they're both important stories. Both Matt's and Fisk's stories are very important to the idea of the show. This isn't really just Daredevil show. It's also Wilson Fisk. So we kind of keep cutting in and out. It's interesting to take notes like that, because they really are running on parallel tracks. Uh, Fisk decides to seal the city and just lets the task force loose on the city. And we now learn that Matt has been marked for death by Fisk, because that'll just kind of help his agenda even more. If the lawyer who saved his life has succumbed to his wounds, he can spin that narrative into a way that gives him more power and gives him, it puts the people behind them, or at least excuses all the things that he's about to do. We see that Buck goes to kill Matt in the cover of this big power outage. All throughout this, a rendition of "Killing Me Softly," I believe that's the name of the song, is playing, which is obviously a little bit on the head, but I really it plays out really well. This version that they found, I don't think it's not the original version that I remember, but it plays out really well within the show. But as Matt escapes from the hospital, because of course he's a few steps ahead of Buck, he knew that he was coming. We get to see that as Matt gets to his house, Frank, the Punisher, Frank Castle is there waiting for him. Frank mentions that somebody called him. My initial reaction was like, "Oh, it must have been Karen to try to help him out." That is confirmed later on in the episode. So suddenly we have like maybe this kind of escape from New York type of thing, right? The city is sealed by the police, but no, I thought we were gonna have maybe Matt try to get away from the city and regroup for the season, but that's definitely not what happened. Instead, we get the task force going in fully on Matt. So the Kingpin he's not even disguising the fact that he's using this police force to kill any enemies, whether it be political or his adversaries. And we get this really cool Punisher Daredevil team up. Like, you know, Matt doesn't like the type of help that the Punisher brings sometimes. Also, John Bernthal gives one of the most intense performances. Like the way that he grunts, the way that he lunges at these people, the way that he takes them out in the most savage fashion. It is just so much fun to watch. Yeah, it's great. I love the way that he calls him Red too. Like just yeah, anytime these two are on screen together, Daredevil and Punisher, like this is the stuff that as a comic book fan I just love to see. Even if it gets to a point where it's a little bit on the more ridiculous side, like I love it. I'm here for all that. We then have the confirmation that it was Cole that killed Hector Ayala, the White Tiger, and we kind of close that loop. We do get a little flashback to Matt thinking about Hector, and it still hits. Man, what a that episode was so charged with emotions. We see Karen coming back to pick up the boys after a grenade blows up. They go regroup. Frank stays back. He's kind of done with his task, right? His only task was to maybe help Matt get out of safely. And now that he's with Karen, because she's the one that called him, he feels like he's done. But this is not the end of Frank Castle in this episode. Karen and Matt go to their storage unit to figure out why Vanessa killed Foggy. I do love that. Well, first we get this really nice moment. That's a little Easter egg for the people that watch the Netflix show. We get the avocados of the law comes back, and Matt explains, how that came about. But as they're looking for Foggy's file, we see that the the scheme that Fisk is trying to pull is this realty scheme. Like there's some kind of this Red Hook area. It's a free port. It's a whole bunch of mumbo numbo Johnsons. Like I don't think it makes sense as far as like legally in the real world, but just like as part of a comic book villain plan. Like yeah, they love a good realty land deal scheme. Um, so yeah, this was their plan all along. So we get the Punisher going to take on the task force after he hears on the radio. He kept one of the radios he hears on the radio where they're grouping, and he's captured after just once again another really bloody, another really intense battle with the task force. He took out a bunch of them, but they do end up capturing him. They bring him back alive because Powell wants to sit face to face with the Punisher to maybe try to entice him to join them, because they very wrongly believe that they are after the same thing. And obviously, as people that have seen the show, people that know the character of the Punisher, we know that's not the case. Um, Sheila also she betrays the commissioner, Gallo, which was I figure she might be the one to try to help bring Fisk down, and she still might be. That might still be the case, but While the Punisher is being taken out, we get intercut scenes of Fisk taking Gallo in, the commissioner, and just like squeezing his head. Like, oh my god! Throughout the whole season, we've been seeing the Fisk getting back to his Kingpin persona. Like, his suit started getting lighter, and until he's now wearing the white coat that we're used to seeing him in the comics, and he's been getting a little bit bigger, especially after those dinners, in front of Adam. Um, the next morning, Fisk, he loves to report into the people, right? He's laying down all his initiatives, um, and we kind of close out with Matt and Ken realizing that they're not going to be able to take on the mayor like this. They're not going to take on the task force like this. They need some help. As this song "Everything in Its Right Place" starts playing in the background, which once again another great needle drop that I enjoyed. We get to see all the things that are setting up for next season. Matt having a small army of Cherry and some of the other cops like that we have met through the season that we know are not corrupt. They're not part of this task force. They meet at Josie's and we get this really cool shot of from outside the window of just Daredevil in his full outfit with the red light. And then on the other side, we see that Fisk has a small prison of all his political and anybody that's really opposed to him, including Frank Castle. So I'm glad to see that Frank was still alive. And then in the post-credit scene, as the show ends, we see that Punisher talks one of the cops into like shaking his hand, and he takes it from there. We don't see what happens, but I figured that would be maybe how Frank escapes from here, or maybe not. Maybe just kill that dude. I don't know. So this makes me very excited, not only for season 2, but also for that Punisher special feature that it's planned. That's like Marvel's doing these little one shot things where I would love to see just a maybe a 90-minute Punisher movie, even if it goes straight to Disney Plus, one of those special presentations. So very exciting stuff. A great way to end the season because, like I said, this is only halfway through the journey. The city has definitely been plunged straight into hell with this new initiative from Fisk, and the Kingpin sits now atop his castle, and no pun intended there. And Matt is really on the, he doesn't know how things are gonna play out. So exciting stuff. Really, really cool season. I think, like I said, overall, although not every episode feels as cohesive and perfect, the latter half of the season where we know that they kind of reworked everything. I think it came out real good. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to next season where they'll have a whole cohesive story. They've been having to plan everything out, and I'm very excited to see where the show goes. So yeah, because now that Clay's back, we can finally talk. And now that Clay's back and Josh is in here, which is the combo we were looking for, uh, we can talk about Daredevil Born Again. So we are gonna get into spoilers for Daredevil Born Again. If you're watching this on the replay, there'll be time codes in the description, so you can skip ahead if you haven't seen the show. Um, so Clay, we're gonna start with you because I feel like you're the one that has the strongest opinion, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. I just felt like we want to hear your voice. How did you enjoy the first season of Daredevil Born Again?
A lot of pros, lots of cons. Uh,
Great, thank you very much. No,
yeah, I know because it's like they had started the series and then they did changes and went
yeah.
back and refilmed some things, and that was to add in Foggy and Karen. And so now it just seems that they're kind of bookending the series with them and just making the stakes higher by killing Foggy in the first
Hmm.
episode, but now almost hinting that maybe he's not dead. And it's like, well, then why even put them in the story to fake his death? You know?
I'm with Clay on this. It was I wasn't as wowed by it as I thought I would be, maybe. I would have blipped them. Like I would have been like, oh, they got blipped, and now they have like blip trauma, and they've been written out for now. You know, if you knew that, like that's the way I would have gone if we had to go back and do reshoots, or like why are they
Mhm.
not in this kind of thing or something like that. Like I would have used. I feel like the show didn't do a great job of using the universe that it's a part of, like
Exactly.
as much as it could have. It wanted to, but it kind of like kept falling on its face when it was like it weirdly reminded me of old when before they were afraid to like combine universes and stuff like that, or like they didn't know where they stood, like years and years ago, like when the old school Flash TV show, not the WB one, but the one with the big rubber spacesuit guy, like
Oh yeah, yeah.
in that in that first episode they mentioned Gotham, but they do it in like secret. They're just like, oh well, we're glad you didn't move to Gotham because that's a scary city with full of evil, like whatever. But they never said about Batman or any of the villains or anything like that. It's all just kind of tongue in cheek, and
Aren't
that's
you
what
glad you
this
didn't
show
move to
felt like.
Gotham? Wink.
Yeah, yeah, this way because yeah, Wilson Fisk like Spider Guy, like I'm just like just say Spider Man, say Spider Man. You are legally allowed to say Spider Man. Say it, like.
Is he? I don't know. That's a Sony
I
one.
don't. It's. I feel like yeah. I guess that's true. Or I would be like, there's other Kamala Khans out there. Like you could. We don't want Miss Marvel in
I
our
I
city,
really
kind of
thought she was
thing.
gonna show up at some point. Like I was
Yeah, I
like,
did
that one's
too.
an
After
easy one.
I did enjoy the bank
Oh,
episode. It was
episode
weird that
five.
they, huh?
Episode five with interest. Yes.
Yeah, I mean that was a fantastic. I mean, it's Die Hard in the Marvel universe with Daredevil. You know,
It.
It's such a bottle episode. It makes me wonder if that was a reshoot episode.
I don't think so. They shot,
Ooh,
from what I remember, they shot 6 total initially, and you can kind of tell that one was probably one of the ones that remained untouched for the most part because it all feels the same. It has the same look. Like in the first one, you can kind of tell some scenes that like all the stuff at the bar with Bullseye, that looks way different than the stuff that like so
Yeah,
and including some of the other show like I think the trial episode of Hector. I feel like
yeah.
that one's untouched as well. Or maybe they added some Wilson Fisk stuff like in the side or something like that. But I feel for the most part, that one was untouched. Also with the bank one, which was one of my favorite. I like that. I like that one so much that I watched The Town the next day because it was during St. Patty's Day that it was happening. So like I was just like, I want another bank heist in St. Patty's Day, which I know is not St. Patty's Day in the town, but it's in Boston. So like it might as well be St.
It
Patty's
might as
all
well
year
be.
long, right?
but you could have watched The Fugitive, which does take place on St. Patty's Day.
But that's not. Is that a bank movie? That's not a bank movie.
No, that's not a big
I
movie.
I
You're
had
right.
also recently watched Inside Man, so I don't want to rewatch that again.
Ooh, that's a great one. God,
Yeah.
that's a good movie.
Uh,
I hate that I'm being down on this season, but like Heather's not the best love interest for Matt. I mean, Jesus, he was in like a couple episodes of She-Hulk, and they had better chemistry.
mhm.
Uh, uh, they've kind of swapped out people for people that like Matt works with now. So instead of having like Foggy and Karen, he has like Cherry and McDuffie, and she's just really trying to run the agents or run the law offices. So she
Yeah.
just kind of fills in some story every now and again that they need.
What
I
a
wish they
terrible
would give her
partner.
more to do, huh?
What a terrible partner he is. Oh, like can you imagine working with that guy and he's never at the office?
Yeah, where he just
Right?
shows up and he's like bloody and hurt,
Yeah.
and he's just like,
I did think it was good that they had episode 5 and 6 drop the same night
yeah.
because I feel like if you had just given people the bank, like I like the bank episode,
Oh, I
but
love
it
it. I think
didn't
it's the best episode.
but it didn't tie into anything with Muse or anything like that. So if you had just given people that one, they're like, oh, what is this show like? Whatever. But with that one, you get the best of both things, right? Because it wasn't that long, so you get a really cool Matt episode. You get some fun cameos from Kamal's dad. Um, and then you get back to the Muse stuff with episode 6, right before their big confrontation in episode 7. So I wish Muse hadn't died. Um,
Yeah.
because I like them. I mean, I just like the character, but in the comics, he's also dead, and they brought him back already somehow. So
Yeah,
I
nobody
know,
stays dead forever.
Yeah, that's right. I know it's not as easy to bring people back in these shows unless Elektra shows up with the hand or something. That's how you bring Muse back. With the hand brings it back.
Yeah,
Um,
he's
but
the
yeah, I
next
think
blue sky.
I also really like watching Matt operate during the day as Daredevil because when he rolls through that window into Heather's office, it's like the middle of the day,
Yeah, that was
which
cool as
felt
shit.
weird.
I
Felt weird.
wanted more superhero stuff. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to see, Hector Ayala in the costume doing something. I wanted to see more Daredevil moments. Like I love the theatrics of the courtroom.
Hmm.
But man, sometimes I feel like if I wanted that, I'd watch like Law and Order or some bullshit. Like I want to see a superhero world that they're
Yeah.
dealing with. And sometimes it's just stuck in uh I want to see a hallway fight. I want to see like, some of that cool ass shit that, they have all the fucking toys in the sandbox to play with. And
Yeah.
then when you sit in court for a whole episode and we never even get to see White Tiger in action, that kind of just bums me out because it's kind of
Mm.
like, oh, this guy is a superhero vigilante. Like we got to see the swordsman for a second in a news clip, but we still haven't got to see the swordsman,
Mhm.
like they have these things that like we're here for, but they're like stretching out the story and stretching out the episodes. And I hate to say just sometimes it's like I just want to see the superhero shit, you know?
Yeah. Now,
Eh,
how? Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
I yeah, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but like I agree with Clay in that it's not necessarily that I want to see the superhero shit, but the show just didn't quite know exactly what it wanted to be.
Yeah,
Is
I agree.
is really what it feels like for me.
Because when they did do it's Matt and Frank, and those scenes are fucking great. Like those scenes are top notch, but a lot of this whole season felt like, well, we're just going to build to like Frank doing something, or the Frank spinoff, or everything's kind of built to, are we going to get into Devil's Reign? Are we going to get into gang war? Because they built up the idea of the gang war happening, but kind
Mhm.
of have not done anything. I guess they kind of muted it with the execution in the restaurant when the guy
Oh
tried to
yeah.
kill Fisk. So it's basically shut that down. But then who who's running the gangs? Because that was a topic at the beginning of the show, but not at the end of the show.
I mean, it feels like to me like Vanessa's kind of fully in control again, which is kind of cool to see her doing bad. Like she just had to fill in the role of the kingpin while he was off, hanging out with Echo and all that stuff, right?
Yes. And Vanessa has stepped up her game. Like everything they write for Vanessa, she executes on such a level that's amazing. When she shoots Adam,
Oh
I'm
my
like,
goodness.
fuck, she's just fucking hardcore. And at first, when she texts the information about Kingpin at the restaurant, I'm like, did she turn on him or is she inside doing that? Like there's this thought of like, she's gutsy enough that she could execute her husband to just take over.
That's how they flirt.
Yes.
Vanessa is one of the best things about this season. The fact that we had Bullseye and we didn't get to him until like the end, like we get to see him in the first episode and the last, is just such a bummer. Like just such a fucking bummer. Like it would have been better if he escaped in the second episode, you know.
And then there's a
And
looming threat of Bullseye like throughout the whole season, even if he doesn't really show up till the end again. Yeah, maybe.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because I don't know. I hate that you're in this like Marvel universe, and it's like we're just going to focus on Matt Murdock and not Daredevil. Like his whole thing is he's not going to become him, and it takes 4 episodes before he suits up, and it's just
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
and then the fact that Foggy may not be dead. It just seems like this whole season was just kind of written as a precursor for the second season, where they want to really get to some shit.
I want to put a pin on that piece of the Foggy stuff. I think Jeff, you have something.
Uh, yeah, I think I just listening to Clay, just kind of going over in my head. I'm like, I feel like I'm more annoyed by this show than I thought I was. I feel like I feel like one, this is might be the final piece where like I feel like Kevin Feige checked out for post end game, and this might be the final thing where he's like, I wasn't really paying attention. Uh, and that now going forward, we might get back on track Marvel wise. I feel like the creators of the show just did not watch, or maybe when they were creating it, like the stuff that
They were
like
probably
She-Hulk
told
hadn't
like
come
if
out or
you
whatever,
yeah.
but I feel like they weren't paying attention to like all the cool things they could have done.
Mhm.
Like, so you have, yeah, Kingpin goes away. And it's either because he got arrested at the end of the Netflix series or whatever happened at the end of that, or he's out with Echo. I just would have been like, he got blipped again. They should have used the blip more to their advantage because you're bringing this property from someplace else and you're seeding it into the Marvel universe, and that blip can give you an advantage of like, this is why you haven't seen these people for whatever, because they were gone for 5 years or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's why we had to kind of like reboot him so it would have been cool if Kingpin had got blipped and then Vanessa had to take over, and that's how she got so powerful. And that's why Kingpin comes back and he has to kind of work his way back up, and oh my god, now he's mayor all of a sudden or whatever.
Yeah.
Like all these things that could have also the it feels like they were like, oh, the Netflix one is hyper violent or whatever, because it's jarring to think that this takes place in the same universe as like Miss Marvel, especially when Kingpin crushes the guy's head. Like, and I'm just like, is this a Marvel show? Like, I'm fine with it. I'm not like offended by it or whatever. I'm just like, it's hard for me to reconcile that these are in the same thing, even though it happens in the comics or whatever. I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's going to be real weird, like knowing this can happen, but you also want to be able to have that character work with this other stuff that is happening because they all are part of the same universe.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of walk that line of how you can make it be cool, but that like you could still have him crush somebody's head. You just don't have to show it. Like it's even like, that's an old Spielberg. That's an old movie
Can
making
can
trick
you
kind of thing,
im- can you imagine if Miss Marvel had to work with the Punisher?
right? He's at the like, ugh, and
Like
she's like, "Are you okay?" Like,
I know. First of all, I do want to say like so we get John Bernthal for 2 episodes, before and after the haircut. Um, oh man, every time he's on screen, I can't wait to go watch The Accountant too because there's a lot more Bernthal in that one, in this one.
Yeah.
But every time he shows up on screen, like it gets so intense, especially in that the apartment fight with the police in the last episode.
Oh
His
yeah.
him just grunting, like growling as he attacks. Like, can he also play Wolverine? Like, he might as well.
you could
He
just hear
is
Tom Holland being like, "Hey man, you need a throat lozenge?" or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
he's the perfect Frank, and the fact that he like kind of has helped develop this character,
yeah,
because it's said that he's like helped writing some of the dialogue and the standalone Punisher special that's coming out after this, which I think is should just be like 60 minutes of violence because we really didn't get the violence payoff we were promised in this. Like I felt like we were building to Frank going crazy that the way that we're going to see him in the spinoff. You know,
I mean, he
everything
was
in
just
this
popping
series just
people left and right, though. He was just like every time he got it, like he was just like, bam, headshot, headshot,
what
headshot.
about
Like,
this guy? Boom! Like, like
and
he
he
was
I
was
ready
did
pretty.
to
enjoy
go.
that. I did enjoy him kind of just going crazy and the fact that Matt was trying to protect one guy and he's like, but
Yeah,
hey, what about this guy? Just, would off them. I did love that scene. But for me, Daredevil is like this whole season has been about like him walking the fine line between being Daredevil and being Punisher. Because as Frank says, you're just a bad day away from being me,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so we've had that in mind, and everything has been bad. I mean, Matt has said that, like the cops are bad, the system's bad,
His
everything's
friends did,
corrupt,
yeah.
And so like I just kind of need to see him snap.
I actually like that he didn't because he was there, right? He threw Bullseye off the roof intending to kill him. I'm sure. Like, he
Yeah.
survived because of its comic book garbage, and I guess he does have that metal spine or whatever they put in him in the Netflix show.
Yeah. I mean, he survived that like spine. Like he took him and swung him against the pillar in that third season. It just looked like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so but I'm glad I actually like that Matt refuses to cross that line and fully go into the Punisher territory because I don't want to see a show with two Punishers. right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Matt has the Catholic guilt all in him. Like that's all a big part of his character, and I like that. I feel like Matt still has the hope that maybe almost kind of like Batman, where he maybe one day doesn't have to be Daredevil anymore, and for a while it's been working. He's been able to kind of keep helping as with as a lawyer,
Yeah.
which makes it really sad when you have like episodes like the guy that just stole the what was it, the Fatal Fatal or whatever,
Yeah.
and you're like, for the system's just out to put these people in this, wreck their lives and not let them out of their hole, and
Yeah.
Matt kind of realizes that even though he thinks he's helping, he's not. So I feel like that's when he decides to maybe. I think that night is when he goes back up to the roof to put the to train, or whatever. Like he's doing his tai chi up in the roof or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like we need a little bit more background on why he has all the different outfits. Like when did you use the Shadowland one? Like when did you use? We know the yellow one, right? But
Yeah.
show me a little bit more.
Yeah, because you get the feeling that he has. So that was kind of sort of maybe explored in the She-Hulk show.
Yeah,
And at the end of Daredevil, he's like there with Karen. He's all beat up, and he was thinking about taking on the Kingpin. And he's like, "Oh, there's like 60 guys in there," and never once is he like, "Oh, I know a radioactive She-Hulk lawyer, like they could easily wipe out all these people, or I know Luke Cage, or I know Jessica Jones." But he alludes to, he's like, "Well, we've got a bunch of friends. I know a bunch of friends." And at the end of the episode, he just shows up in the bar, and it's just like a bunch of normal people. I'm just like, "Oh, well, that's not what I was
Yeah.
expecting."
But I do like the fact that at least he shows there are some good cops left,
oh yeah,
because yeah, that's the one thing that they do need to show, because they do show this over, like all these cops with the Punisher tattoo and all the shit, on their the bullets, like, yeah, there are bad cops, but you also have to make the argument there are good cops trying to do good things,
yeah.
because
Like Angela, right? Like I feel like she's definitely gonna become a bigger part of the story. Now,
yeah,
one one thing I also kind of was always in my mind while watching this was that this was originally just supposed to be 18 episodes. So the fact that they decided to restructure into 2 seasons, I was like, well, this is just part. It's almost like when Netflix does drops part one and part two, right, of their
yeah.
stuff. Like, this is just part one of the same season. Like that, I feel like the whole story is all together, and I knew it was gonna end, overall pretty badly for everyone that we care about. Um,
I
so
really thought Karen was going to die. I thought she was going to
oh,
be, yeah.
Matt can't take it anymore. If she dies, he's done. But I do want to circle back. Now, Clay, you've mentioned a couple of times that you don't think Foggy's dead, or that they imply that he's not dead. I need more information because I'm pretty sure I watched the same show and I never got that impression. So, fill me in. What
Well,
am I
why
missing?
would you even talk about it in dialogue if it happened in the first episode, he's
Yeah,
dead, that why would you be questioning it at in the last two episodes?
who's questioning it? I don't. That's the part I
Matt
don't.
Matt when he talked about, like, they were uh oh god, what was it?
I know he was questioning about why he was hiding like the his strategy or whatever, and because he kind of stumbled into something, but I never took it as like maybe Foggy's not dead. I feel like he's dead.
I agree with Clay. I don't, but I feel like mine is because of bias of stuff that I've heard outside of the show.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Ah,
I
maybe
think that's the bias I have as well.
I
I was reading
I think
things into like things that Matt was saying that maybe
yeah.
were not there necessarily, but
I think we'll see Foggy next season, but I don't know. I think it'll be through flashbacks. I don't think it'll be like he's not dead.
They flash back to the Shadowlands, so you get your story about how he got the suit.
Yeah. Oh, thank
just a
God.
bunch of interstitials of just like, Matt, what's the new suit? Like
There's
just
gonna
like
be
little
like a
cartoon
real
like one-offs.
some real Family Guy moments where it's just like a flash, like a random flashback to him wearing different suits. I
Yeah, the Shadowland suit, the
I
weird
mean,
black armor suit.
interestingly enough, I think the Shadowland story could kind of, because we know that Matt wasn't blipped, but it would play really well if that's the reason he had to go and take over the hand or whatever, whatever the Shadowlands story is,
Yeah.
because of the blip that threw everything into chaos, and that was the only way I guess he could intervene and help out. That'd be cool, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Just give me a comic prequel comic that tells me that story in the MCU.
I
So
feel like
let
this
me.
show had a lot of teases that never. So like, they killed off White Tiger, and then the niece was like, "I'm gonna do it myself," and I was like, "Oh, we're gonna get little White Tiger like in the comics." Well,
Yeah,
we never see her again. Like
Little
she was
Tiger,
kidnapped by
little tiger.
Muse, and then she disappears. And I just like,
maybe.
yeah, I don't. Where was Echo? Where was like,
I I thought Echo. Well, yeah, I guess I feel like we might get some defenders. If not all the defenders, we might get some. He needs some defenders for next season. There's no way.
I bet you he gets Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. They cut out Iron Fist, which really sucks because I really would like to see the return of both of
Danny,
them, like
yeah.
because they both have the Iron Fist at the end,
Oh,
Danny
that's
and
right. That's right.
Colleen.
Colleen and Danny both have it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think, and Echo, I think it'd be fun to see her come back. Like she hears Wilson Fisk is doing all this stuff,
yeah,
and maybe she's like, "I thought I fixed you," and at the end when I took out the evil or whatever.
I would like to think if they were going to spend as much time as they did with Echo in putting a series together, that they were planning on the character being around for a lot longer, being in a part of a team. I think that the Defenders would be a great fit.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, I mean, we have the opportunity. They could have finished with such a big, like Daredevil standing in a room of like, the good police, the good people, and some heroes. Like, just fucking
yeah,
give us like even a shadowy image of a character that we know is going to show up. Like, you don't have to have the actor in there.
yeah. Leonard
Uh,
Kim
yeah,
should be in
yeah.
the
Literally,
comic.
I just needed a tease. I just needed a tease for something to look forward to.
yeah, it would have been great to see a Tom Holland Spider-Man show up in that room, being like, oh, like he's really going to become a part of New York. He's going to become that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, I miss Matt's old apartment. I don't know why that's such a dumb thing to miss, but I loved the layout of his old apartment, the way it was filmed. This apartment feels more confined, and so like the camera's always in tight. So it just seems like a smaller space. Does that make
Well, he might
sense?
have to move back because his apartment exploded.
Yeah.
That's right.
I miss Ben Affleck's old apartment in Daredevil with the water deprivation tank, and
Yes.
how do how does Matt not even wear earplugs or anything when he goes to sleep?
Yeah.
Especially when Heather stays over. I mean, come on. Even if she doesn't snore very loudly, Matt can hear it. Um.
That's right.
All right. Let's see, any other thoughts on any of this season of Daredevil? I think we got some pretty good conversation about it.
Yeah, I think
Um.
if they pull the trigger on what they could do in season 2, it could be fucking massive. It could be unbelievable if they're going to do the same number of episodes. I want to see crossovers. I want to see gang war. I want to see Devil's Reign. Something in there where we have like these teams of just regular street heroes and cops doing good to kind of protect the city. And how do they take down these uh, empowered other gangs that are other cops, and what street villains do we have that we haven't seen? I kind of thought it'd be great if we got to see the leaders of the different gangs in this. uh, Tombstone would have been a great one to show up.
Yeah, that's
Chameleon.
kind of what I was just thinking. It would be cool if we'd seen some other like more comic booky villains that are like the gang. Yeah,
I mean, we have
Hammerhead. Yeah,
if you want comic booky villains, they did such a great job with Michael Gandolfini as Daniel. Like his rise
he
to power is
Yeah,
amazing.
he goes from like meteoric to like real serious, and just like when he confronts BB, like that's like the best turn in his character, because he
Yeah.
just goes from a goofball to like, oh, this guy really is learning from the Kingpin. He's
Yeah.
learning how to manipulate and use this against them.
Oh,
I
some of
think
the
BB's dumb. I think it's really the soundboard on I don't know who the fuck uses a soundboard while recording shit with their phone out
It,
on the streets.
it's for the retro vibe, Clay. It's just all about the vibes. You gotta stand out on the. There's so much content out there. You gotta
I
stand
mean,
out somehow.
you could just put
That
a YouTube logo or some bullshit or
that
something
that's
on there.
probably the first comment she gets on all her videos. Like, what's the sound? What's the clapboard for? Like on every one of her YouTube videos. Like, a matter of fact, we're gonna get a clapboard and we're gonna start using it on the show.
Yeah,
Um,
I would rather have seen more BB, just as a storyteller from the
yeah.
streets. I loved seeing all the artwork and the murals.
Oh, it's really fun to every time he walks by the white painting, the Rabbit in the Snow, I think it's called.
Mhm.
But now it's got the blood stains from
Blood
the
stain on it.
fruit,
Oh,
fruit season 3 or whatever.
yeah.
Uh,
But like when they had the murals of the white tiger,
yeah.
and
Oh, those are cool. And I think they were done by David Mack, if
they
I'm
are
not
they
mistaken,
are
right?
Oh, cool.
David Mack did all the murals for the show, and they
Which
are amazing.
we saw a few that didn't even show up in the show. Probably maybe either the first iteration of the show or whatever. But during the trailer, there's one with I think maybe Daredevil and Kingpin at the same time that we don't really see that one in the show at all, because I just the shows that I watch that talk about it, like, oh, they were still waiting on this mural to show up. And I think even David Mack on Blue Sky would put like, oh, they're one of my murals showed up today or whatever, but there's more coming. And then by the end we're like, well, I think that was it. So maybe I mean, he probably didn't even know which all were used or and which ones weren't.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my question. Name a one street level superhero you'd like to see show up in season 2.
D-Man. He finds an old Daredevil suit.
I love it. I love
And
it. This is how
what
we
is
get
so
our introduction to this
Matt's
universe
like,
is Wolverine.
why do you smell like garbage?
Cloak
Sure,
and
Brand.
Dagger.
Oh
Cloak and Dagger would be
yeah.
fun. Night
That was
Thrasher. I would do Night Thrasher.
Night
Ooh.
Thrasher. Ooh, I guess if Frank can't show up, you always got the Night Thrasher.
But
New
with
Warriors.
skateboard Night Thrasher for
Oh
sure.
Yeah.
yeah, of course. You
Yeah.
gotta get around New York.
You
The
want to
Yeah.
see the Night Thrasher go from young and old and then violent.
I just wanted to
I
like Daredevil on the street about ready to fight, and then he just kind of grinds up like on a
right.
pole. He's like, "I'm here with you, buddy."
Daredevil shoots his stick so that he can grind off of it and make it to through the bridge or whatever.
Marvel,
Uh,
please call us. We will.
yeah.
We were here for you.
The
Stunt
way
coordinators and everything.
the way Punisher calls him Red makes like I'm just like they love each other. I know it.
Yes.
I know it. Just kiss already, boys. Come on.
Put them in a road trip. That's like, I mean,
Yeah.
Frank would have to drive, but
I mean
uh,
that is a love triangle there of Karen, Frank, and Matt,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
trying to figure out who wants coffee.
I do think
Um,
there's a complete opposite show in Daredevil. Like they could do, like when Clay, when you were talking about how you were wanting to see like a lot of the lawyer stuff, I think they could go like the Mark Waid Daredevil way with
mhm.
this and pull more of that She-Hulk Daredevil out, where it's like all like courtroom stuff, and then Daredevil has to go investigate, and it's almost like Psych fun, kind of, sort of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like the TV show Psych. Uh, I think that there's a Daredevil show like that could be made, but I think the fans would go nuts and burn things down if you tried to make that show.
Yeah. If it was just a lawyer intensive show, then they would be like, you
Yeah.
have to out lawyer all the other lawyer
Yeah.
shows, and you have superheroes. Come on, just do the
Like
superhero shit.
like when everyone freaked out about Javier Pulido's art on the She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? It looks different. Why is she not super hot?
Why is she all bubbly?
Uh, um, well, I think that's all we have right now for the best avocados at law that we can.
I did like the call.
Great callback. Great call. I mean, I love that from the beginning. And then nice to have that callback again. But yeah, That's all our thoughts for now on Daredevil Born Again. Um, Patiently awaiting that Punisher one shot, and of course the next season of Daredevil. But
Does they have a? Do they even have they started filming anything? Do we
I
know
think
anything?
that Daredevil, I think it's supposed to be out next year. I don't know about the. I don't know about the Daredevil. I don't know about the Punisher spinoff. I haven't heard anything about that, but
I hope.
I'm sure.
I do hope Daredevil season 2 is called the Terrible Twos.
Yeah,
If this is Born Again, then 2 should be Terrible Twos.
I'm sure that's why Frank got a haircut, because maybe they were already shooting the other thing. Also, I know this isn't Punisher Born Again, but when he shows up just to like take out on as many cops as he can, oh my goodness! And then at the end, the little end credit scene, which was like just great,
Yeah.
just great. Let's see,
It,
Leonard
well,
Kim.
it
One final thought from Leonard Kim. He wants them to give us illegal drama episodes, a la Suits LA. Um, I am
what
watching
is
Suits LA.
Suits?
Suits. So
I've
I've
never
never seen.
watched Suits, but I get commercials for it all the time.
I mean, it is the one of the most streamed shows on Netflix. So I guess people are definitely watching it, and I am watching Suits LA because Stephen Amell's in it.
Yeah, that's the ad I get when I go into Peacock. It's like
Oh yeah.
constantly like, just keep watching this because this guy Harvey is coming to LA, and I'm like, who gives a shit?
You know the guy from the other show. I mean,
Suits, Suits
listen,
is a
if that
USA show, though, right?
Yeah.
it was a USA
Yeah.
show, yeah.
Characters welcome. Yeah.
Characters welcome. Um, so, all right. Any last thoughts on Daredevil before we move on? 'Cause we got a lot to cover. All right,
No,
great,
I'm done.
perfect.
I'm done
Thank you
with
for
that Daredevil.
done with Daredevil. Uh,
I would like okay if Punisher escapes the jail at the end of like he does at the end of the season, he can help break out Night Thrasher, and that's how we get Night Thrasher, who's also been
who
captured.
else is in those cages? I want to
Who
know.
else
I
is in
want
those
names.
cages?
Well,
I
the
want
And
names.
swordsman.
Oh, the Swordsman team up with Punisher.
So now that we're gonna have this Punisher one-off, is that gonna out violence the violence we've seen in Daredevil? Because the violence in Daredevil seems to be top tier gore and
what if this
violence.
is how we bring back Moon Knight? He's kind of a street level hero. He could be Moon Knight and
Woo!
Frank could go punching
I,
people
I
all
need
throughout New
that.
York.
I
Mm,
need that.
I like that. I like that idea. He could be one of the defenders. Defender of the night, Mister Knight.
Defender of
All
the
right,
Night Travelers.
let's